Hello, this is John Paval with Access Arts Live, and this week's roundup of orchestral and operatic live streams. And yes, those are the opening chords from Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition, which you'll have a chance to hear live later in the week, so we will get to that. Oh, it's a lovely piece. Now, I want to tell you that we have a great lineup this week. We have a bevy of women conductors and soloists. I mean, there'll be Dalia Stasevsky, Joana Mallwitz, and Tabita Lindberg, the Norwegian, with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. It's just a great lineup. And there are also a number of terrific women soloists. I don't know if this is because it's International Women's Day on Saturday. I hope not. I hope it's just because there are more and more women who are, for whom every day is International Women's Day. We'll also have an opera ballet gala from the fabled Mariinsky Theater in Russia, and much more. So remember to like this video if you see us on Facebook and on our other platforms. Don't just like us, please. If you like what you see, subscribe to us. Subscribe to Access Arts Live on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, or Threads, and we'll get you over 1,000 live performances online this year. So, folks, let's get right to it. The first thing I have to tell you is there are several things that have come up at the last minute. We just didn't know about them in advance. So I'm going to throw them in here willy-nilly, especially right at the beginning. There are several live streams I can tell you about just offhand. For instance, starting today, 2 hours from now, it's 3 o'clock in Europe right now, which means it's 9 o'clock on the East Coast and very early 6 a.m. on the West Coast. But you people in Hollywood who work on the other side of the camera, I know you get up that early. Anyway, so starting at 5 o'clock in just 2 hours from now, Wednesday, March 5th, 11 a.m. on the East Coast, 8 a.m. on the West Coast, 7 o'clock in the evening in Moscow, the Moscow Philharmonic presents the Russian State Chamber Orchestra with soprano Samira Galimova. And they'll be doing Mayakovsky's Lyric Concertino for small orchestra, Respighi's Sunset, a lyric poem for mezzo-soprano, that would be Samira Galimova, and string quartet, Stravinsky's Concerto for string orchestra in D, the Basel Concerto, and Mozart's Symphony No. 25. I don't have any particular photos for that to tell you about. And the other thing that's going on soon after that, soon after that at 6 o'clock, there's something else going on that I do want to tell you about. And where are my notes about it? I have lost my way, lost my notes. MarchVivo is live streaming an oboe quartet at 6 o'clock in the evening European time, noon on the East Coast, 9 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. And we will give you the link for going there, if you like, in the description to this video. And there's more, okay? There's Russians all over the place today. If you're craving Prokofiev, played by a Russian soloist and orchestra that know how to play the man's music, try the St. Petersburg Phil live stream today, Wednesday, March 5th, with Vadim Repin playing Prokofiev's Violin Concerto No. 2 in G minor. That's all I can say. I mean, if you really want to hear Prokofiev played by a Russian, backed by a Russian orchestra, this is it. Vladimir Repin is... there's not much I can say about him. He's the tops. He's been around for years. He's played with everybody. When he was 17 years old, only 17, he was the youngest ever winner of the Queen Elizabeth competition. And a couple of the other soloists going on this week are also winners of that competition. Anyway, that will be in about 3 hours from now at 6 o'clock. And I can commend it to you if you really want some great Russian music. In fact, I can show you, I think I have a photo of the guy. Yeah, I can throw up a photo of him on screen. here is Vadim Repin, and I hope I pronounced that name correctly. He's a very well-known name, more well-known to other people than he is to me. I am not a musicologist. I'm not an expert. I'm just very much into live streaming. Okay, so you have those two. Now we move on, and there's more and more and more going on this week. Thursday, March 6th, the Helsinki Philharmonic welcomes two of the stars of the Lahti Symphony Orchestra, conductor Dalia Stasevska and pianist Elina Vehele, playing music about new worlds, including old and new composers. Dalia Stasevska is the conductor and chief conductor and artistic director at the Lahti Symphony Orchestra, which is also in Finland, like Helsinki is. It's not a big town. It's only about 120,000 people in Lahti, but it has a history of being connected with Sibelius and all of that, and it's a fine orchestra. And the pianist Elina Vehele, she has been a star with that orchestra since she was a kid. She was born in the U.S., but then her parents moved to Finland, where they raised her. 12 years old, she made her orchestral debut with the Lahti Symphony Orchestra and was then chosen as the orchestra's quote-unquote young master soloist. She appears regularly with all the Finnish orchestras, but she's also played with the Houston Symphony, the Vancouver Symphony, Dortmund, Strasbourg, Spanish Radio Orchestra, etc. She's since 2023. Now that she's grown up, she's the artistic director of the Naantali Music Festival, and she does a lot of premieres of. Well, I've said this before. When composers start writing music for you, then you know you've made it as a musician. And the composers, Aulis Salinen wrote a chamber concerto for her. Curtis Smith wrote a double concerto for her. Jaakko Kuusisto wrote a violin concerto for her. And Kalevi Aho wrote a concerto for her too, all of which she premiered. So these are two musicians who know each other. In fact, last year, Dalia and Stasevska and Vehele collaborated on a project with the BBC Symphony Orchestra because she's the principal. Stasevska is the principal guest conductor at the BBC, and they were doing works by Missy Mazzoli, who's included in what they're going to be playing. So what will they be playing? This is sort of space music to a certain extent, but new worlds, meaning out there and here. So they'll be doing Mazzoli's Sinfonia for orbiting spheres, Musa's concerto for violin and orchestra, and Vehele will, of course, be playing there. Then they'll be doing a part of Corigliano's violin concerto, the Red Violin, the Chaconne from that, and Vehele will play that too. Then in the second half, they'll do Dvorak's Symphony No. 9 from the New World. So that kind of new world. I think this is going to be one of these concerts where the conductor and the soloist are really, really playing well together. They know each other. They have performed together in the past. That's always a good sign. We move on from Thursday until Friday, and actually a couple of men get a chance to do some playing here on Friday. I should mention also Friday morning, there's something, I'm just going to mention it for a second. The the NDR, North German Radio Orchestra, is putting on a live stream for school children based on the Stravinsky's The Firebird Suite. And if you're in Europe and you have children and you want them to learn about it, this would be a chance for it. That's Friday, March 7th, 11 in the morning, European time, and ridiculous in the middle of the night in the US, but 9 o'clock in the evening down under in Australia. Now we move on to Friday evening, the adult entertainment. Young conductor Patrick Hahn may have his hands full directing the Frankfurt Radio Symphony's live stream this Friday, March 7th, because the pianist Frank Dupre has brought his jazz trio with him to play Gershwin's piano concerto. That's right. Patrick Hahn is a young conductor. He's Austrian. He was named the music director of the orchestra in Wuppertal, Germany, in 2021, at which time he was the youngest music director in Germany. But he's also a jazz pianist. He's won awards as a jazz pianist at festivals in Chicago and Wisconsin, they tell us. And he's also performed as a chansonnier, singing songs by the musical satirist George Chrysler, or Georg Chrysler. So that's very interesting. Now, for this performance, this is another one of these Europeans saying, well, let's play all the Americans. So they're playing Bernstein's Overture to Candide, and then they'll be playing Gershwin's Concerto in F with Frank Dupre, the pianist, but it's not just the pianist. He brought along his drummer and his bass player. So that's why you have a picture of a jazz band there on the right with Frank Dupre. I don't know what he's going to do, but it could be interesting. And then they'll do Charles Ives' Three Places in New England and Duke Ellington's Harlem. I always have to tell people, when Europeans try to do American music, it's not the same thing as American music done by Americans, in my experience. But you got a couple of jazz guys, okay, Dupre and Hahn, letting it rip this Friday night. So you might want to tune in to enjoy that, even if they aren't Americans. Okay, let's move on to the next of this week's offerings. What do we have next? Yes. Now here's another pair whom I think have worked together before too. Another one of these great women conductors, Joana Mallwitz. And I just tried to upload the picture, and it wouldn't upload for you. Let me try that again. Is there a reason why it won't upload this picture of Joe? No. There, now it uploaded it. There's Joana Mallwitz on the right and Anna Vinitskaya, the pianist, on the left. Joana Mallwitz and pianist Anna Vinitskaya team up, as they have done before, this time with the Berlin Phil, to play a Rachmaninoff piano concerto, along with Paul Hindemith's operatic symphony Matisse der Maler. Yeah, Hindemith wrote an opera called Matisse der Maler, and then afterwards he thought, well, what the heck, I guess I'll do a symphony on it too. So opera lovers may be interested in that. They will be doing, this is with the Berlin Phil, so it's not free of charge. It'll cost you €9.90 or $11 for a weekly ticket. Or you can subscribe for a month if you want to pay $16.90. But anyway, they'll start out doing Prokofiev's Overture to War and Peace, Opus 91. Then they'll do Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3 in D minor, Opus 30. That'll be Anna Vinitskaya playing that. Then they'll come back after the break. They'll do Hindemith's Matisse der Maler Symphony and Ravel's La Valse to finish off. This is a debut for Joana Mallwitz with the Berlin Phil, but she has been the chief conductor and artistic director at the Konzerthaus Orchester, the Concert House Orchestra in Berlin since 2023-24, the first woman to take charge of a major Berlin orchestra, they tell us. She's conducted a lot of other she's conducted an awful lot of opera. The Dutch National Opera, the Royal Opera House at Covent Garden, the Bavarian State Opera, the Frankfurt Opera, the Royal Danish Opera, Zurich, Norwegian. Wow, a lot of opera. I didn't realize that. And then she's conducted a lot of other symphonies. And last year in 23-24, she did a guest. Joana Mallwitz conducted the Boston Symphony Orchestra as a guest, and she brought in Anna Vinitskaya to play for that too. So there, hand in glove. Who is Anna Vinitskaya? She was born in Novorossiysk, Russia. Studied in Rostov there, and then she went to the Hochschule für Musik und Theater in Hamburg, where she eventually became a professor since 2009. And like someone I mentioned earlier, she won a first prize in 2007 at the Queen Elizabeth competition in Brussels. And there's yet another soloist, Vondracek, whom I'll be talking about in a moment, who won that. He'll be playing with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. So this is a week for winners of that Queen Elizabeth competition. The Washington Post says, Vinitskaya is a true lioness at the keyboard, devouring the most difficult pages of music with adamantine force. Well, there you have it. She's been an artist in residence at a lot of places. The Dresden Phil, the Köln Phil, the Frankfurt Museum Orchestra, and the Palais des Beaux-Arts in Brussels. So again, this is another fine concert with two women collaborating hand in glove. It's probably going to be really good. What do we have next? Well, the next thing that's up that I want to tell you about, which is also on Saturday, about 7 hours later, that concert, I'm sure I told you about, was with the Berlin Phil, was at 7 o'clock European time, in case I forgot. 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time and 10 in the morning Saturday morning on the West Coast. Then about 7 hours later in Eastern Standard Time, you get the Detroit Symphony Orchestra with another great woman conductor, Tabita Berglund from Norway, who started out as a cellist and then turned to conducting. And now she recently signed this year a 4-year contract to be the principal guest conductor with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. And starting next year, she'll be doing the same thing with the Köln Symphony Orchestra. So she's hot these days. They'll be doing, this is where you get to hear pictures at an exhibition. Let me give you the time first. This will be at 8 o'clock in the evening Eastern Standard Time, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 2 o'clock in the morning in Europe, but maybe we're staying up for, and noon, Sunday, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. The first half of the program is Beethoven's Emperor Concerto, Piano Concerto number 5, and it's Lukas Vondracek who's sitting in to do it. He's replacing the guy who was supposed to do it. But Vondracek is nobody to sneeze at. He won the International Queen Elizabeth Piano Competition in 2016, the way Anna Vinitskaya did in 2007. So, and he's performed with orchestras all over the place, most notably, since he's going to be in the Midwest again, the Chicago Symphony. But he lives in Boston now. And he plays with all the top American orchestras, Philadelphia, Boston, Cleveland, Baltimore, the LA Phil, etc. Stop. He does recitals all over the place with Elb Philharmonic, at Leipzig's Gewandhaus, at the Vienna Concert House, etc. There's just too much. I can't even start to list it. I'd be here for a half an hour. So he's a top guy, and he'll do a great job. And I just absolutely love Tabita Berglund and the way she conducts. She did a couple concerts with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra in the fall, starting out as the principal guest conductor. They were live streamed. We told you about them, and they were a great time. They were a good time. She's a good conductor. I could tell you more details about her, but I already told you a little bit about her. She's from Norway, and she started out as a cellist. What more do you need to know? Check it out. Okay, we're down to just a couple more that I want to tell you about. And the next one is, hey, if you, for a good time on Saturday, if you're not looking for some kind of symphonic thing, call the Mariinsky Stradivarius Ensemble because they do these galas, and they're doing one on Saturday. Let me announce it properly. Lovers of ballet and opera, maybe nobody gives you what you love in a more festive and exuberant form than the Mariinsky Stradivarius Ensemble surprise concert this Saturday, March 8th. That'll be at 7 o'clock Moscow time, 5 o'clock in the evening in Europe, earlier in the day, 11 in the morning on the East Coast, 8 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast, if you're up for that much gaiety that early in the day. You can just see from the exuberance of the leader of this orchestra, Lorenza Nasturica Herskovici, who also plays the violin. I mean, this will just be a great show. This will be like a nightclub operatic ballet show. They have ballet dancers who are going to be in it, and they have a soprano and a tenor soloist. I can show you the pictures of them. I mean, this is just a good time, you know. This is opera in the easiest form. You don't have to sit through the recitatives and some of the lesser works that you don't like as much. And the program includes works by Rossini, Puccini, Brahms, Tchaikovsky, Khachaturian, Offenbach, Lehar, Strauss, and Verdi. So there's some operetta mixed in there. Inara Kozlovskaya, she went to the GITIS in Moscow, graduated in 2011. She sang with the Mariinsky Young Opera Singers for about 11 years, but she made her debut at the Mariinsky Theater in 2016, and she's been a soloist with the opera company since 2022. By way of contrast, the tenor, Sergei Skorokodov, he's an established tenor. You can look him up, and he's sung all over the place, and he's sung, you know, all the basic tenor roles in the opera repertoire. So this should be, like I said, this should be a fun time if you like it. And the Stradivarius Ensemble, it's a group of musicians who only play very fine instruments. The Amati, Stradivari, Guarneri, Guadagnini, and Goffril kinds of string instruments. So they're hotshots. Okay. I think we have one more concert to tell you about this week. Do we? Yeah, but I don't have much worked up for you. It's the Tomsk Philharmonic. Sunday, March 9th, the Tomsk Philharmonic brings you a concert based on Russia's view of the East, with new conductor Alexei Mezin at the helm. The Tomsk Philharmonic, they have this whole series called the Conductors Academy, where they bring in young up-and-coming conductors, and he'll be conducting a lot of Russian music: Rimsky-Korsakov, Rachmaninoff, Mussorgsky, Glinka, and Borodin. So that'll be a very Russian concert. That's what we have for you this week. I can give you a little more detail about the MarchVivo concert, which is starting in just about 2.5 hours. It's a little extra. It's not really orchestral music, but it should be very good. This is 6 o'clock European time today, March 5th, noon on the East Coast, 9 in the morning on the West Coast, and it's the Hemisferio Quartet, which members of the Royal Seville Symphony Orchestra. They've done a couple albums of oboe and strings, which have been really appreciated by the critics. They'll be doing music by Sanchez Verdu, Miralles, Torres, Luke, and Arsenio Marodan. Very Spanish, very contemporary music for oboe and string quartet, if that is the kind of thing that can ring your bell. That's what we have for you this week. Let me remind you, if you're watching this on Facebook, please click on the like the video button and we'll send you an invitation to follow us. On all our other platforms where you may find us, please don't just like the video, as many of you do, like us. Subscribe or follow Access Arts Live on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. And well, thank you very much, and make sure that you get live links to more than 1,000 live performances online this year alone. We're already well on the way to doing so. I'm sorry if I looked a little distracted. I have like 4 pop-ups on the right side of my screen, and I don't know where they came from. So I hope you enjoy some of these great women composers and women soloists. And hey, why not? Enjoy the men as well while you're at it. And we'll be back sometime before the end of the week with a roundup of all the other chamber music that's going on this week. We got bumped back a little in time. We're a day or two late on all of our live streaming because our service provider wasn't able to provide the usual service on Monday. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Ciao for now.